Bandwidth for First Updates Now is supported by AndyMark. Are you competition ready? Go to andymark.com and keep your team inspired. And by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com. First Updates Now is brought to you by viewers like you. Fun relies on the generous support of our fans in order to continue to keep creating content. Please consider donating, giving bits, or subscribing. Subscribe for a few bucks a month or for free through Twitch Prime. And don't forget that our subscribers get 5x chance to win on all giveaways.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to We the North Recap. Tonight in the show, we'll talk about Week 1 events, preview Week 2, and give some top 25 predictions. Reporting for First Updates Now, my name is Lenny De La Cruz.
I'm Chris Braun.
I'm Parth Patel.
And I am Praneet Trivedi.
And I'm Dan Niberkowski.
Thanks, guys. A lot of sweet action went down this last weekend. It seems like it was more competitive than previous years. Week 1 does not come with its controversy. So with that, let's get into it, Chris.
Alrighty, the Great Northern Regional
Will be the event I'm capping right here. Not many events have your MC ride out on a snowmobile to the field, but that's what happened up here at the Great Northern Regional. It was also the inaugural event, and it went amazingly. The venue was fantastic, minus a lot of static. Very much a lot of static. But besides that, event was great. There was the full practice field, amazing teams. But it was a lot of figuring out how to play this game going into it. Double climbs was, they were a bit scarce here and there. Some teams really had it nailed down with some deployable ramps. But that was a big part of Team 5172's path to seeding first, was getting all those extra climbs in. But it really did come down to that ownership of the scale, and the amount of power cubes placed on the scale was just crazy. There wasn't a single cube left on the field in the finals matches. Just that's how many robots were grabbing the cubes and placing up on the scale, and just it was pretty scarce. Getting into the finals, it was number 1 seed against the 2nd seed. Team captains 525 of the 2nd seed. Team captains 5172 of the 1st seed. 5172's triple climb was very much a benefit for them going into those rounds. In the first finals match, the scale, it was a big scale battle, but it was a lot more balanced. They were able to keep it pretty even. 525 was able to keep it more balanced, and they didn't lose by a ton. So going into that second match, they really had to make sure they get those cubes up on that scale. But in the second round, they missed a few key placed boxes on power cubes onto the scale, which let 5172's first seed alliance just have ownership of that pretty much the entire time, and there wasn't any way for 525 to really come back and try to get it into that third round. But it was a great event. Robots were awesome. It was a pretty small field with only 47 teams being there, but it was a great time. Great inaugural event, and it'll be good to see what happens in the future of that event going forward.
All right, moving over to Miami Valley. Miami Valley featured an amazing and kind of surprising upset. Going into eliminations, there was 379, the Robocats, handedly in the first seed position with their triple climber. They picked the number 2 seed, 291, Creativity in Action, and they looked like they could take it all up until the semis when 302, the Dragons, as well as 4362, the Gems, both from Michigan, had something to say about it. Taking the scale early on and not letting it go allowed for the number 4 alliance to win against the number 1 alliance, even with 379's triple climb. This is a game where superior strategy can make all the difference, and the number 4 alliance showed that here. Going into the finals, it was the number 4 alliance versus the number 2 alliance, which was the 3504, Girls of Steel, and 4028, the Beak Squad. It was an intense 3 matches, but the number 4 alliance managed another upset to win the event with their alliance 302, the Dragons, 4362, the Gems, and their third robot, 3397, the Robo Lions from Missouri. Also a shout out to 3324 from Ohio for winning chairmans.
Well, let's start off the Canadian events with a little quiet one for the community, but the Georgian College event was anything but that for the teams. At the end of the qualifying rounds, Team 1360 Orbit Robotics ranked first with a record of 11, 1, and 0, amassing 31 RP, which is about 2.58 a match. They went on to pick Team 1305 Ice Cubed and grabbed rookie 6864 on the way back. Interestingly enough, Team 1325 declined the invitation of Team 4903, which was a second seed, and went on to form their own alliance with Team 4039 Makeshift Robotics and another rookie team, 6987 Falcon Automation. The first alliance had basically the two best cube-dominant robots at the event, but they met their match in quarterfinals 1-1, where the 8th alliance pulled out a superb tie, 262 to 262. But after that, basically the number 1 alliance rolled into the finals, where they met the aforementioned second alliance. They won their first match handily, but the second match was a tight back and forth battle. But the number 1 alliance came out on top, 317 to 313, just a 4-point difference. But a lot of that was thanks to the 100 foul points from their opponents. Also, congratulations to Team 1325 Inverse Paradox for winning the Regional Chairman's Award, or the District Chairman's Award now, we should say. Let's take it across Highway 401 to Durham. Parth?
Yeah, for sure. Among all the snapped welds and broken lights and penalty flags and even a pseudo-official video review week 1 was also very versatile in its strategy. With so many previous rookie and second-year teams at this event, seeding first was going to come down to the bonus RP. And with only 3 teams with the ability to support facing the boss, the AutoQuest was going to become the favorite early on in this event. In the end, the first seed was decided by the 3 RP in every match, and it was a very close part of this tournament. For much of it, it was kind of, whoever takes a loss or whoever doesn't get that 3rd RP was going to lose that number 1 seed. In the end, Team 610 did end up seeding first with a record of 12-0. They would go on to pick the ARM bot in 4476, the Waffles, and an MCC type robot in 6110, Docbotics. The number 1 alliance, would go through most of the limbs without a challenge on the scale. This led to a lot of points accumulated for them, but in the semis, the number 4 alliance would put up a fight by taking over the number 1 alliance's switch and keeping the match rather close. The number 1 alliance adjusted in match 2 with less effort on the scale and went through to the finals in straight matches. In the finals, the number 2 alliance of 4946, 2609, and rookie all-star winners 6867 would face some bad luck with broken sensors and broken lifts, giving the number 1 alliance an advantage, with the Waffles loading up either switch or even both switches in some matches, and some strong defense from Team 6110 and a little bit of Volt skill shown by Team 610. The number 1 alliance took home the win. Congrats also to 4476 on the Kling Bling as they won the District Chairman's Award. And I know that they truly deserve it because they have a great program over there and they have an outstanding community. Let's move it on over to the French side of Canada. Let's take it to Montreal.
All right. The event in Montreal is over, but people are still talking about the ending. 55 teams went to Montreal in the quest for gold, but there could only be 3. After all the qualification matches were over, it was Team 3990 Tech for Kids from Montreal, Quebec, who grabbed the number 1 spot and went on to pick Team 359 the Hawaiian Kids and rounded off the alliance with the rookie team 6869 the Gladiators. After a scare in the first match, it would be smooth sailing to the finals. They were met by the number 2 alliance in the finals, and it would go to 3 matches where, as Mr. Tallow will pull it up here in a second, in the rubber match, the score kept on adding up even after the clock struck 0. They ended up calling HQ and rewatched the match to confirm the score and indeed give the number 1 seed the W. Congrats to 3990, 359, and 6869 on the blue banners, and a special shout out to Team 1772, the Brazilian Trailblazers, for the silver Kling Bling and gold Kling Bling for the finalists and chairmans, and also the Woody Flowers. So, fellas, after all the actions, who stuck out as a top 25 performer?
Well, let me start it off with the obvious choice. I'm going to start with Team 610 over here. Their slick shooter setup helped them to the number 1 seed, and Tyler's gonna queue up a video in just a second. I'll keep going. And their slick shooter was beautiful. It was very accurate. A lot of people had doubted if the cubes were able, if they were going to be able to keep the cubes up there and whatnot. But they were fantastic. And their hang shot that Tyler's going to queue up in a minute brought back memories from 2016. They were not only monsters in the scale battles, but just phenomenal at filling up the vault and neutralizing switches. And some say they still own the now non-existent Durham College scale.
With that, I'm going to go into to Waffles. I am absolutely in love with their robot. They drive it well. They fill up the scale. They fill up the switches. They fill up the vault. They can't do the hang, but it doesn't matter. They do just about everything else.
Nice. I'd have to give it to Team 5172. Their easy triple climb deployment was amazing for them. Let them get all those rank points. And they're also a great scale bot. They were just able to really do it all and get themselves a high seed. And I think they're going to go far with their triple climb.
And lastly, I'm going to go with 4362. Their arm was essential to their win at Miami Valley, and I predict more great things from them in the future.
Since we're talking about the future, let's look ahead to week 2. Dan?
All right, so coming up in week 2, we have regionals on both sides of Missouri. Right now I'm going to talk about the Heartland Regional, which is a new regional, but it's in the same venue as the Greater Kansas City Regional. And at the top, we have 1806 SWAT, who went all out this year. Just below that, we have a plethora of strong teams ready to compete, such as 1939, the Knidgets, 1723, the FBI, 1730, Team Driven, 1710, Robotics Revolution, 522, Team Scream. Also, look out for Team 5082, Northman Robotics. They have a few new seasoned members that have really given the team a competitive edge this year. This will be a great event with a lot of action. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. There's also going to be a ton of action under one roof up here in Duluth in Minnesota. The Northern Lights Regional and the Lake Superior Regional are the events that happen under one roof. It's the biggest competition outside of Worlds, with the most teams being held. With 120 teams in total, it's going to be nuts. There's just so many great teams to even try mentioning all of them. But there should be some amazing, awesome matches to come out of those events with the amount of teams competing at those events.
All right, cool. Now, of course, coming back to Indiana, we have 40 teams meeting up in Penn High School to start the district March Madness in Indiana. The St. Joseph District event brings all teams all over the state. Also, some teams visitors from Michigan, hopefully to steal some blue banners from us and take the FIM. Some teams to look out for, we have Team 1501, Team Thrust. Tyler showing them their sweet elevator that they got. Also, one of my favorite teams, Team 4272, Maverick Boiler Robotics. Also, 1024 is going to be there with a sweet, sweet bot, the Kilobytes. It's a lot of people's first event, so let's see how it goes. Hopefully it goes well. I know we'll be there, so I'm excited.
All right, and then moving on to my other regional in Missouri, the St. Louis Regional. It's always attracted teams from surrounding states, and this year is no different. To start us off, there's an Illinois invasion happening this year, with most notably 2481 Robotics, the 2016 world champions and easily the strongest team in Illinois, as well as 2451 Ponage, who went with a more unique robot design this year with a catapult. Beyond that, there's 2081 Icarus, 1625 Winnovation, and 4143 Mars Wars. Illinois is definitely bringing the fury, and to counter, St. Louis and Missouri area has teams such as 1208 Metool Brigade, St. Louis Regional Champs 1706 Ratchet Rockers, and 3284 Camdenton 4H. And last but not least, 1732, the Hilltoppers from Wisconsin, captain of the winning St. Louis Alliance back in 2017, ready to defend their title. With the nature of the game this year, this event may not bring in the high scores, but it'll bring in the competitive and very close matches, and the winner will have earned their title of St. Louis champion.
All right, with that, quick soapbox for you guys. I have a question for you guys at the round table. Should have Montreal went to a video replay to determine the winner, or should have been a field fault and started over for another match?
Oof.
I'm going to start this off. As an FTA and as a team member, I kind of think that when first HQ gets involved, it's probably a serious enough issue, and that if HQ is the one that's saying, "Oh my God, let's go to a replay and let's decide it," I feel like we might be missing the part of the story where HQ kind of had a bit of a, "Oh my God, what is happening" moment. And they might have also been the factor of, if it started counting after t equals 0, for those of you that know, the score kept going after time ended. They might not have been able to fix it in the replay. And so it's like, how long do you replay until you can fix the issue? Or is it better to just give it to the team that won? So from that perspective, I get why there was a replay. And I'm not saying that was the case, but I definitely see that being a huge argument in that favor.
Yeah, go on, man.
At the Great Northern event, we had one of those matches where the time it kept on counting after time equals 0, one of the qualification rounds. And that ended up just going to be a replayed match at the end of the qualification. So I feel like it should have just probably been replayed because, I mean, it happened to us for qualifications. So
the thing is,
was the score close enough at least?
It was a pretty solid victory for the One Alliance, and it actually ended up going the other way in the replay match.
Oh, interesting.
It really sucks, though, if you're on the winning alliance and you have to do a replay match. So I can kind of see it from the red alliance perspective, where it's like, hey, we won from t equals 0, so why do we have to replay this type of thing, where it's just not great for the teams involved.
Yeah, I totally think that's where it kind of boils down to is, if I've already won the match, I really don't want to have to replay it. And I don't know, like, I'm going to speak on behalf of the Blue Lions here. And I'm sorry if this is not the case for you guys, but I feel like if you know that you lost the t equals 0, like, you're probably okay with that because you'd already lost. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm putting words in their mouth and I really shouldn't. But I think if you know you've lost a t equals 0, I think you're probably okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of talk what everybody's saying here. I mean, me as a drive coach, I'd love to get another match in. Just you never know when a match goes down, what can go either way. But I mean, they won. I would hate for us to win. It would kind of soil the victory for me. So I'm glad they handled it that way and looked back at the match and was able to make the right call.
Yeah, there's another thing I wanted to cover as a head ref for this particular game. I think the predictions that we made last week of what are going to be the most abundantly called fouls or tech fouls or just rule violations, we definitely got the one about the null zone violations on the spot. I think totally across the 76 qualification matches and however many playoff matches we played, there's I think north of about 150 to 200. I think about 150 tech fouls were called. It was just unreal. Teams were just missing the point that it's a protected zone, and they were just really, really, like, I guess, just, they weren't paying attention as to where they were driving or where the robot was on the field. And it came back to hurt them in a lot of the matches. There were a few matches that were decided just by foul points. And not just because one team scored too many. It was both teams could have just won if, they took one less tech foul than the other. So it was just really tough from like a volunteer perspective where you're trying to make sure that matches aren't decided based on that, but it just ends up being that way. And the other one that needed a little bit of work and tweaking from a lot of the teams was the launching one, G09, where they weren't breaking the vertical plane of the null territory to put their cubes on the scale, or they weren't touching the bumpers, or they weren't, intersecting the fence for the switch. So there was lots and lots of those tech fouls being called to it. What did you guys find at the other events?
Yeah, there was a lot of the same there with the scale and the null zone. As drive coach, during one match I was actively telling our driver, no, go around the scale, don't go through their null zone. So we wanted to go place on their switch. I'm like, no, it's too easy of a foul to grab, and it's easily avoidable. Yes, it's going to take you some time to drive around, but it's a lot safer than grabbing those foul points.
Do you think that's going to keep going? Like, as the weeks go on, do you think those fouls are still going to be called just as much, or do you think it will go down more?
I'm gonna say that those fouls are gonna keep happening, just because I think as the weeks keep going, you're gonna see a lot of defense being played, and I still hate the type of rule that the null zone safety rule is, and the same with the secret passage in 2016, where only the offensive robot has to be in the zone and the defensive robot just happens to be in the area and you touch them. And there's a lot of like intentionally drawing. Okay, I shouldn't say intentionally drawing, but there's a lot of, robot in the null zone. Hey, there's a robot here. I'm going to get myself 25 points. Quick little nudge on the way in or quick little nudge on the way out. And here you go. So I think it's still going to happen.
I think they still tweaked it a little bit better than what it was in 2016 for the secret passage, or even 2017 last year for the gear pickup zone, where if the offensive robot is partially in the opposing platform zone, they're not technically protected, right? So it's still a little bit better, but I think there still needs to be a little bit more work. And I think the fix they did for Indiana in 2016 and 2017, where both the robots have to be touching the null zone, needs to be made. But I do understand the reason they made the null zone a protected area is because they expected tall robots and they need to find a way to protect them from, just high-speed ramming and tip-overs.
For sure.
I wonder if that's going to be a rule change that they make for IRI, where they're going to lighten up on that rule. I mean, it's a little bit early, but...
Those stupid rules, like Paul likes to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if it's too early when there's like hundreds and hundreds of penalty points in a match and it's deciding games. I think when scores tend to be in the 400s, but there's 100 points in penalties, that's a quarter of the total score in the match. Like, maybe there needs to be a change. I'm not advocating for change. Like, I'm not going to be the spokesperson for it. Like, I think teams can avoid it. It's definitely a rule where your drivers can get smart, read the rules, you can avoid the foul points, but it's a huge swing. 25 points of ownership is hard to get.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's similar to 2014, if you guys remember, where a tech foul was worth 50 points. It was worth more than like a full cycle where they had 3 assists and a ball launch and into the high goal. So it was, I think it's difficult to come by something like that. But like if you imagine, if you make it that the defending robot also has to touch the part of the null zone to incur that penalty, that means you're putting all the robots that don't go entirely into the null zone to score a cube on the scale at a risk of being hit hard when they're in a vulnerable position, right? So they have to find a compromise. There has to be a compromise in a position like that. But I do agree that something needs to be done, but I don't have an answer for what it should be.
Well, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see what first does and how teams react. With that being said, thank you for tuning in to the We the North broadcast. If you want more First Robotics in your life, and why wouldn't you? It's an amazing program. And you like what we do, all we ask is that you let others know, give us a share, give us a like, and have them have more FRC in their lives. If you've got a few bucks that you can share with us, we do appreciate it. But if you don't, that's totally cool too. We're delighted to have you on board on our broadcast. On behalf of myself, Chris, Lenny, Praneet, and Dan, as well as our producer, Tyler, I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and thank you to all of our moderators in chat. Our next show is Best of the West. Talk to you next week on We the North Recap.